Well, Tommy, welcome to the people of Utah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited.
I'm excited, man. So I haven't seen you in years. Let's just start from the very beginning. Where are you from, and why are you still here in Utah with us?
Okay. So I would say for the most part, born and raised in Ogden area. Because I remember I think your wife was from Syracuse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I do remember that. Wow. So yeah, I spent most of my life in like Riverdale, Ogden area. I lived in Washington State for like a year growing up.
Okay. Why just the year? What was that about?
It was like from a year from my dad's work, and then I think they kind of realized probably be closer family. So
Okay, cool.
like I said, a lot of it in Riverdale, and then obviously with the summer in Portland. And then served my mission in Tennessee, Kentucky area, and then been in Provo since the start of 2024. So kind of been all over, but it's mostly been here in Utah. So
Very cool. Okay. How would you compare and contrast? How long you been here in Provo? You said 2021.
I got here at the start of 2024. It's just about like a year and a half.
So what do you think about Utah County versus Weber County?
Dang. So obviously you got Salt Lake, right?
Yeah.
And then you got Ogden or Provo. And I think for the most part, like geographically, they're pretty similar.
Okay.
Both, relatively bigger sized cities. Provo, there's obviously a lot more people our age.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the church is obviously bigger influence here.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny too, because like I talked with someone, and down here, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm from Ogden." They're like, "Oh, the ghetto of Utah." Yeah. And like I didn't ever even think about that. Like, not that like I think anything of Ogden like that, but I'm just like,
No, I've heard that. I've heard that, dude. Yeah, is that Ogden's like, oh, I think for a long time, Ogden's like the most dangerous city in Utah.
yeah,
or
something like that. I'm sure West Valley City is the
West Valley probably.
yeah, yeah. But I didn't think anything of it. I love Ogden. So.
Okay. You mentioned a lot of younger people. That's the big thing for me because we lived in Layton for a couple of years.
Oh, right.
And I grew up down here, and that was the biggest difference for me. It was just like because there's two colleges here, you know what I mean? And there's tons of new builds, tons of new families. So I do think like the average age is lower down here.
Yeah, like go to the In-N-Out in Orem.
Oh,
So, dude, you know what I'm saying?
That is the worst In-N-Out, dude. The In-N-Out in Orem is gonna be the worst in the entire food chain, dude.
Yeah,
Out of
for
California,
real.
out of everyone in Utah, the Orem In-N-Out is just chaos.
It's
man.
crazy, yeah. Because I've been down to Provo before I moved down here.
Okay.
And I just remember, like, I think I was at the In-N-Out or the Raising Cane's or one of them, and everyone was our age. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, is there, like, any kids? Is there any older people here? And then you go to the In-N-Out in Riverdale where I'm from, and it's, grandpas and grandmas. It's little kids. It's high school kids. It's college kids. It's families. Yeah, that was just kind of a funny contrast.
No, yeah, it's nuts, dude. So you came here to Provo for school. What's your degree in?
Marketing. So it was kind of weird when I came down here. It wasn't, like, I've always kind of been the guy where it was like, whenever anyone mentioned BLU, I was like, not a chance, Like, it was really kind of a weird thing. And I'd come down here for, like, weddings, homecomings, things like that. And every time I was like, cool place, but not for me, right? I remember one night, one of my mission companions came up to Ogden. We hiked Lewis Peak.
Okay.
And he was like, dude, come to BYU, come to BYU. And I was like, dude, no. Like, there's not a reality where that happens. And
Wait, why were you so against coming to BYU?
I don't know. I was just like, I'm born and raised a Utes fan. I felt that was part of it too. And I just kind of was, I don't know. It was just like, always kind of like, go Utes,
Okay, so you
Just nothing.
never on your radar to come down here.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And I remember, he's like, come to BYU. And I was like, no, like, really stop asking me. It's not happening. And I went to bed that night and I was like, I'm going to go to BYU. Like, it was just like a weird feeling. And so I applied, but I was like, I know I don't have the grades to get in. I was like, I'll just throw an application out there, say I tried. Not going to happen though. And like a month or two later, got back and it was like, you've been accepted. And I was just like, wow, like I'll actually move down here. So, yeah, I came down here and it was actually weird because like, I've always wanted to do the van life thing.
Oh.
And I looked for vans for months, couldn't find anything. So I bought a camper for my truck bed
Nice.
and lived out of that it was about, I did the van life thing from January till when I got down here till August. It was about 9 months or so. And so that was sick, crazy, but
That's way fun, dude. The thing that sounds fun about that is the traveling with it, right? Is traveling and doing the van life. That'd be sick. But okay. So where did you park? Where did you?
yeah, it was kind of weird. So that was one of the biggest things I had to figure out. But for the first few months, I'd just rotate between the Provo front runner station and the Orem front runner station.
Yeah.
And until like one day they're like, hey, you can't do this.
They caught on too.
Yeah, they caught on. And it was kind of funny because like they were like, yeah, we've been trying to track you down for a while. They're like, we didn't think you were like a college kid. We kind of thought you were some like, homeless third guy, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, just doing this kind of for fun. Just kind of doing this because it's cheap, it wasn't really cheap, but just kind of doing this for fun, right? So.
That's sick. Okay. So that's interesting. So was it UTA that kicked you out? I think
Yeah, the UT Transit
UT. Okay.
people or whatever. And then after that, I kind of just started parking in. I'd met some friends down here, and then kind of started parking in their apartment complexes or 24-hour gyms are usually pretty safe, things like that.
So, dude, the apartment, like college student housing scene in the Provo Orem area is very interesting. Where do you live now?
I live at, gosh, what's the name? Arcadia.
Oh, I've heard that.
It's like 2 apartments down from the Provo Vasa.
Yeah.
Southwest side.
I've had friends that live out there. Yeah, I like it, bro.
About as cheap as you'll find with kind of what I'm about. So,
So nice, dude. Yeah, there's a crazy spectrum, actually.
yeah.
It's interesting.
Dude, where are you at? Where are you at?
Oh, so we live like at the edge of Provo, Springville, kind of. So
Okay, that's right.
yeah. So there's like newer townhomes and stuff. It's a way nice area. I love it. Which is kind of funny because one of my friends I went to high school with, him and like his uncles own a construction company, and they built the ones we live in. And I didn't know till later. I was like hanging out with them one time, and tell about his company, and then I looked at their website, and their website was featuring the townhomes I lived in. I'm like, bro, you built the house I lived in?
Yeah, really.
Kind of creative. Yeah. So tell me about your family a little bit. Are they still all up in Ogden, or what's up?
Yeah, so I just have my mom and dad, and then my younger brother, and I'm 24, he's 20.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they're all in Ogden, and they're all doing pretty good, and nothing too crazy there. So.
Right on, bro. So I know you are a big music fan. You said you started your mission in Nashville?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know Nashville's a big music
Right.
place. Were you already a big music fan before?
Yeah, I was. That was kind of, I guess, I'll give you the long story.
Sweet.
Short story.
A long
Okay.
story, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should have time, but so I was in 8th grade, and there's only a few electives you can take when you're in junior high, right? It's like Spanish, French, some sort of music or choir, right? And so I took guitar. I was like, should be an easy A, right? And that's really all I thought of at the time. Got a guitar, and I was in there with some buddies, and the intro guitar is a lot of just like Mary Had a Little Lamb, and just Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, stuff like that.
Junior high guitar.
Exactly. And so we finished that first beginning guitar, and I was like, okay, that was cool, not amazing, but I was like, I'll take the intermediate one again, just for the A, be with some friends. I had a good time in there. Mm-hmm. And that was cool because then we started getting into finger picking and chords and sort of a little bit more advanced stuff. And again, after that class, I was like, okay, still pretty cool, right? But they didn't offer anything higher. And not long after that, I bought an electric guitar. And I was like, okay, this is cool, because obviously we're just kind of playing on acoustic, like I said. And so the electric guitar I was like, that was special. And what really made me fall in love was I played Guitar Hero and Rock Band growing up.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And so when I figured out I could play the songs on Guitar Hero and Rock Band on my guitar in real life, and obviously it was kind of like the dumbed down version of it.
Sure.
But I was like, that was when my practices went from like 20 minutes a day to like 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love, and I had like this guitar that I bought from Guitar Center that I was just like, that one's the coolest looking one. I have no idea what it is, but it's out. So then me and my friends started a band, and it wasn't anything like, I look back and it was just so amateur. It was fun because we were just buying shirts and spray painting our logo on and sung at school for like,
How old were you guys?
gosh, I should have been 14, 15.
Okay.
So yeah, we're just selling shirts and I was sick, random merch, and people loved it. And we didn't like it's like we can't play at bars. We can't really do anything.
Yeah, you just.
So we'd play at like school assemblies. They'd have us play at school assemblies.
No way, that's legit.
Halloween, we dressed up as Kiss, the band Kiss,
Yeah.
the face paint, everything, and play Kiss songs.
So the school was really into it, Mike.
Yeah, no, a lot.
What school was it?
Well, we were at T.H. Bell Junior High, and then we were at Bonneville High School.
Okay. And they were letting you play concerts.
Yeah, no, they loved it, and talent shows, just like little stuff like that. Like, it was so much fun.
Did you ever release any music online or just?
We did. We wrote, I think, 2 songs together, and it was funny because, like I said, it was so amateur. We'd get together, and it was just like arguing and just having debate nights, and just like we'd play. I had a table tennis or ping pong table in my basement. We'd play that for most of the time.
Yeah.
And then we'd play on our guitars for 5-10 minutes, and then we'd go hot tub. That's what it does every time. My parents would order pizza. They're super supportive of it.
That's sick, man.
And yeah, so that was a ton of fun.
Are you still good friends with those guys?
Yeah. I actually just went to Great Basin with one of them, which is last weekend. But
Good, man.
yeah, it was awesome. And then when I opened my mission call, That would have been summer of 2019. Saw Nashville and was just like, wow, that's the place.
Cedar City.
You know, I hadn't even thought about that, but when they said Nashville, I was like, yeah, music, guitars, that's me, you know.
That's awesome, man. So you enjoyed Nashville. Were there any other musical opportunities for you there, or not really?
I mean, it was cool because just about everyone, and most people were at least somewhat invested in music, whether that was playing or listening or writing or singing or recording, something like that. And so it was cool, you know, have someone you're teaching and you say, you know, they like guitar and you're like, oh, I'll bring my guitar, let's jam, you know, or, you know, it was during COVID too. So I left in October of 2019.
Oh yeah.
So obviously if you do the math, there was probably 4 or 5 months where it was like actual, like kind of stereotypical, like door knocking.
Yeah, regular stuff, and then you got shut down.
Yeah. And then that was when we could really like post videos of us playing hymns on the guitar and, you know, stuff like that. So it worked out really.
So your musical talent got to grow while you're doing. Sure, that's sweet. And since you've been back, I've been seeing you're in a band now. Tell us about that and how that's been going.
Yeah. So yeah, I got back October of 2021. I'm kind of, like I said, I was living in Ogden at that time, going to Weber State. And I was kind of trying to find people. It's really hard to find. Really, the hardest part of having a band is just finding the right group of people. And so, because it's like you need people that are committed, people that are good at their instruments, people, you know, if you live in the same geographical area, no crazy, you know, the same schedule, no crazy drug addiction, you know, all this stuff. And so it's like someone has all those things, but then it's like they're in Logan. And it's like, okay, not going to work. Or they have all the schedule, or they have all the things that line up, but then they can't, you know, they're not actually good at their instrument. You know, so it's just like things like that. And so played in probably 2 or 3 just kind of smaller bands, no really like live shows. And then I moved down here and got acquainted with, his name is Daniel Beddoes.
Okay.
All his stuff's on Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that. And it was just like an instant, like, yeah, like, you guys are legit.
How did you connect with them?
I knew a girl, I was kind of talking to a girl, and she had met him swing dancing. Okay. And when I told her, I was like, hey, I'm moving down to Provo, she was like, she kind of connected the dots of like, hey, guitar player's moving to Provo, and this guy I also know in Provo, his band is looking for a guitarist. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, hey, like, you know, kind of connected us. And originally she's like, yeah, they need a guitarist for their country band. And I was like, country? I was like, I don't know. And not that like I had anything against country, I'm just unfamiliar with it. My thing's rock, so I like AC/DC and Def Leppard and Metallica.
Electric guitar, yeah. Country.
Yeah, so like I said, stuff on Rock Band, Guitar Hero. And so when I heard country, I was just kind of like, I don't know anyone down here. So I was like, worst case scenario is I meet people. I was like, I'll still go. I don't know how well this is going to mesh or whatever. And I get down there and I was like, this is literally just rock, but they say whiskey and, you know, every so often it kind of sing with a twang or whatever. And I realized country's also a lot easier than rock for the most part. And so it was a real easy transition when I met him, got along with him perfectly. I was like, yeah, let's do this right off the bat. So
that's cool. So now you are putting out music online and stuff. Are you also playing shows anywhere?
Yeah. So we actually have a show this Friday in Idaho.
Oh, fun.
Mackey, Idaho. Not sure where that is,
but we'll find out Friday.
Yeah, we'll find out Friday. And then we play a show like later this month in Salt Lake. I know we have one in Springville, I think, in June. Kind of all over the area.
It's legit, man.
Yeah, it's kind of a combination between bars, just in like the kind of Salt Lake metro area, and then if we can get our hands on rodeos or festivals, fairs, things like that, city days.
Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So it's there's the players and then like the team like managers that help you find these places to go play. Or
Yeah.
Group.
Yeah. So it kind of changes a lot, and it's kind of tricky, but it's a lot. I found out it's a lot about more of who you know, as with most things.
Yeah.
And so we have a booking agent. Her name is Stacy. She's awesome. She helped manage the band last year for a while. But basically she's got all the connections, so she knows this bar owner and this person that organizes the rodeos and this person, and she'll reach out and kind of get back to us on who she's talking with and what the dates are and what that looks like. And we usually have just a few friends that'll help with like the setup and takedown of like equipment, help drive maybe to the far gigs. They'll help take pictures.
Very cool.
Things like that. So yeah, there's obviously the band. There's 5 of us, 6 if we count our fiddle player that's kind of in and out, but. And yeah, kind of a team of a few people that are willing to help out. So
Very solid.
yeah.
I love that there. So being, going all over Utah, whatever, with your shows and all that, what would you say is your favorite thing and your least favorite thing about Utah?
Ooh, okay. Um, okay, I'll start with least favorite thing just because it's been on my mind.
Okay, yeah.
Idaho, we played Idaho about a month ago, 2 shows in Idaho, and the bars are crazy there.
Okay.
You can get in, you don't have to be 21 to get in, which Utah, you have to be 21, you have to scan the ID just to get in, right? And so there you can get in without being 21, you just can't buy the drinks.
Okay.
And so the bars there, that's like what people do in their free time. That's how you're going to spend your Fridays, Saturday nights, at least in some of these smaller towns.
It's a lot more social because more people are getting in the door. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Utah, it's a lot more, like I said, it's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
And they're constantly like, oh, drink up, guys, drink up. Like, free tabs on us. And obviously we're just kind of like, oh, no, thank you, though. But like, hey, whatever you want, it's on us. Like, you're our guest or whatever.
That's dope.
Yeah, so they're super cool. Whereas Utah, like I said, still awesome, but I don't think it's the same kind of feel, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Okay.
Favorite thing is, I like the really low pressure shows, and what I mean by that is there's some gigs that are like, you're playing, and it's almost like the main purpose of it is networking, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
There's someone there that like it might be a top dog. And you kind of got to impress them, if that makes sense.
There's playing for playing, and there's playing for, like, impressing certain people.
Exactly.
Connections. Okay.
Or it's like, yeah, exactly what I'm saying. Is like you're opening for someone, so you really have to put on, like, a good show. Whereas there's some where it's like we're playing for a wedding of someone we know. And they've just given us the green light to do whatever we want for as long as we want. So we'll be playing for, usually a typical show is about an hour and a half of us playing, and that's a pretty normal set. The ones where they're like, play for 3-4 hours if you want, and we have enough material that's possible. So it's so much fun to just play and run around and play behind your head and just goofy stuff like that.
I know what you mean.
And you're just kind of like, hey guys, let's play this song, and just kind of pulling random songs out of nowhere, So
So that's a strength of Utah's, that you get to have more of those opportunities.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Fair.
Whether that's like the people we know or weddings, and I love the scenery in Utah too. Like, we played the Tabiona rodeo, and Tabiona is this small little town on your way to Vernal.
I've never heard that. What's it called?
Tabiona.
Tabiona?
Yeah.
A city in Utah.
It's a little
Dude,
small town city
shout
in
out
Utah.
Tabiona.
Surrounded by like red rocks, and so like we played at their rodeo, and it's like they like loved us.
Nice.
And so it's just like things like that. Like I said, love the scenery, kind of love just like the rodeo stuff like that. So
Okay. So rodeos a lot. Well, so I'd imagine that the summers are pretty big to you guys. Then.
yeah. Usually December's we don't even meet together, and then usually March, April we're kind of warming up with smaller bars, and then hopefully by June, July, August we're playing rodeos, festivals, fairs.
That's the busy.
Mostly every other weekend,
It's very fun, man. Cool. So how do you balance that with everything else in your life? Like, I'm sure you work, school.
Short answer is it doesn't get balanced, but however, I work nights at FedEx. I load the trucks that then go out for delivery. So usually it's like 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. So not like super ideal, but it helps pay for tuition, which is kind of the main reason I'm there.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, during the school year, obviously a lot of my time is spent with, between work and school. Obviously, I told you I'm marketing. So yeah, that's been a huge strength too, because I kind of know how to market ourselves, because we're bands. I know how to market shirts and, merch, music, stuff like that. And then during the summers is a lot more, I can spend a lot more of my free time at the gym or hanging out with friends and family or practicing guitar, things like that. So
I'm very busy. Very cool, man.
No, I don't.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say out of all the places you've eaten in Utah is your favorite place to eat?
Wow, eat? Geez. Dude, that's hard. Here's the thing is, I'm really not picky. I love McDonald's.
Yeah?
That's a stupid answer, but I was like, just the quarter pounder with cheese I love. For my birthday this last year, we went to like this barbecue place in, I want to say, Draper area. That was pretty good. I wish I could remember what the name of it was.
Good to know.
Yeah, I like barbecue type food. I like Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, beat up best.
Yeah,
This is so fun.
So, yeah.
What about like, all these different places you've played at in Utah? What's the best venue you've played at in Utah? Is it that rodeo, do you think, or somewhere else?
just kind of depends because there's some places where it's like the lighting is super awesome. So you'll come out with these amazing pictures. So there's this bar in Draper called Leatherheads, and we play at that pretty consistently. And it's like, that you're going to have pristine pictures, like new profile picture type pictures,
Yeah.
And then there's others where, the pictures might be good, but the sound quality isn't good. Maybe just like the sound guy doesn't know what they're doing or something like that,
Okay.
But I'd say, like I said, Leatherheads and Drapers is a pretty good one just for lights and sound, pictures, places like that. There's this place in Wyoming called Pinedale,
Okay.
and they just set up a stage in the middle of their like town in the center, and filled it up with people. And it was as simple as that, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I'd say in Utah, I really like that Leatherheads place.
Okay. Do you get to meet a lot of people through doing this? I'm sure.
Yeah.
And do you have any like big connections you made?
Yeah, there's a lot of like people because like, some of us in the band have networking strengths, and that's some of our strengths, some of our weaknesses. I'd say I really like meeting other people and playing with other people.
Yeah.
There's some of the bigger names, like there's this guy named Tommy Acker, and he's a really cool guy. He released a song probably a year or two ago, and it blew up on TikTok, and now he moved out to Nashville. He just opened for Megan Maroney, which is a pretty big deal. In front of, thousands and thousands of people. And before he moved out there, we got to play a show with him.
What's the biggest crowd you've played in front of?
That Pinedale, Wyoming was definitely a few thousand. I'd probably say, yeah.
That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, probably a few thousand. Yeah.
Sick.
That was like kind of their like festival, kind of their people from neighboring towns and cities came in from, I guess that's really only towns in Wyoming.
Yeah.
But yeah, people from all over kind of came for that one, and that was a lot of fun. So
Sick, man. Okay. I love that.
yeah.
Well, changing gears, thinking back in your life, is there a piece of advice you've received before that has really changed your life that you could share with us?
Yeah. I would just say embrace the present. That's a lot easier said than done. I feel like a lot of times, like I said, whether it was like COVID on the mission, super, super hard, or it was like sports in high school and balancing, school and work or right now where it's like you're trying to balance, as college kids are trying to balance school and work and, relationships and friends and family and, all these things. And I just say like, enjoy the present, embrace the present. There's no, I guess, point in, beating ourselves up over past mistakes. And there's also no point in just focusing on the present and what we could have or what we should have. Obviously, like I said, it's not that it's not important to learn from the past or to set goals for the future, but just to really live in the moment is what I've kind of found. Because I feel like looking back on, let's say, hard summers knocking in Portland, we've been there, or just long days during work and school. I look back and I'm like, those days in Portland weren't too bad. Dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, like knocking the doors definitely wasn't fun, but some of those weekends, like just hanging out with the guys and bowling and eating dinner was some of like my favorite weekends of my life.
How many years did you do sales?
Just the one.
Just the one?
Yeah, just the one. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh, wild stuff, dude.
yeah, it really was.
Did you do sales and technician, or did you do...
Yeah, so I did sales for the first, I think, 2 months, then technician for the next 2 months or something.
That's fun.
That
That was a tough year, dude. I really did not like that year. The only thing I love is just the people, bro. Like you said, it's just like way fun weekends and doing stuff like that. But
yeah, like I couldn't care less for knocking doors, but the people I met, like I still, obviously me and Mitch was the one who got me. But yeah, meeting people, like I still talk with Jake Tomlinson and Bryson and, obviously keep in touch with guys like you. I think I've seen a few of the other guys on campus every so often. So
solid, dude. Yeah, no, that's true. The people you meet traveling and stuff. Yeah. And also, I think just getting to know a new city is way fun. Dude. I know the ins and outs of like Portland and surrounding cities relatively well.
Yeah,
I think that was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, it's crazy how many times I'll meet someone from Portland or Oregon, and I'm like, I was there for a summer. Like, we went out to the coast and we saw this, and we saw Cannon Beach, and we saw this.
Yeah, well, one of my good friends is so funny. We both started on like our jobs the same day, so we did all the onboarding together, and we've been in the company for a few months. And he's from Camas. But he's like, I'm from Portland. I'm like, oh, dude, I know what part of Portland. He's like, oh, Camas, Washington, actually. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, because that's like where the owner of that company lived.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I know Camas. Yeah, that's a nice area. He's like, oh, you know Camas? I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful. It's so fun.
No, it's funny. Yeah, we were, like I said, we were in Great Basin last week with my friends, And we were in this tiny little town called Baker, Nevada. Like, there couldn't be more than 50 people living there. And one of like the little owners of the shop, she was just like, "Oh, where are you from?" And we're like, "Oh, we're from Ogden." We're like, "Oh, where are you from?" And she's like, "Portland." And me and Mitch look at each other like, "Oh, Portland, Portland." No, so it's just funny how you still run into people like that and still get excited about Portland and just the smells and the moss on the houses and the crazy amount of rain. So I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that was the best of times and the worst of times. I'm
for
with you,
sure,
man.
for sure.
I wish we were done the year before, dude. The year before, I did enjoy a lot more, but also a lot less unique experiences.
And where were you the year before? Were you in that or New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
guys. I didn't remember that.
But that's because I went to like NASCAR, which I would have never done, but we were already in New Hampshire and they have that. So I went to NASCAR. I got to see Boston, Columbus. I mean, I did stop in Nashville for a day on part of our drives. Indiana, like New Orleans. It's just cool to see places and travel.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, man, it was way sick. So Tommy, you touched on it a little bit, your mission and stuff, right? How about, growing up and today, how has faith or belief in a higher power impacted your life?
Yeah, that's huge. Where to start? Like I said, grew up in Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Obviously Ogden, Utah. I mean, Utah is obviously the kind of the hotspot for it. I would say just like I was really impacted by a lot of the people in my life. So let's say that was like young men's leaders or scoutmasters, obviously parents, grandparents, family, friends. And then just like having constant, I don't know if the word is experience, but constant like touches from God. And just kind of seeing him, work in my life. Like I said, it was where things were, it would only make sense in my position. And like we kind of talked about it a little bit where it was like, I love guitar, and so to be called to Nashville, like I don't think, whoever called me on my mission knew that, but I had to, there's like things like that all the time. And so you see that in the people I taught and talked to on my mission. And I see it down here. And because when I moved down here, like I said, it was tough. Like I was living in the camper trying to figure out life. It was very cold. It was, it wasn't easy. I got really sick and it was hard because I was trying to adapt from Weber, which was it wasn't nearly as strenuous as it was as BYU. And so just to see God help me through that, even when it was like really hard. Yeah, I'd say at the end of the day, my faith and my belief in God is like the biggest thing in my life, the biggest contributor in my life.
That's awesome. How would you say, relationships in your life with your family and friends and stuff, how has the relationships you've observed impacted the way you approach relationships now?
Yeah, I was talking with someone about this just the other day. I was asked like, what's the most important thing in your life? And it was kind of like wow, like where do you start kind of thing, because of like I love, there's all sorts of things I value and stuff, and I think the biggest thing for me is the relationships are what really is the most important thing in my life. Whether that, like I said, a relationship with God, good relationship with my family, my parents, my brother, where some of those haven't always been the best, some of those haven't always been there, and I like to keep relationship with my friends. I like to keep relationships with my roommates or, people. Like I'll reach out to people from sales, people from mission, and just ask me how they're doing, at the end of the day. Because I just feel like at any point, someone could need the text or someone could need, anything. I just feel like I said, at the end of the day, it's the relationships, and at the end of the day, no one's going to care how much money you have, and no one's going to care how much, the nicest car you have. People are just going to care about how they remembered you and how you treated them.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's fantastic. What would you do? How would you spend your time if you didn't have to worry about work or school or anything like that? Would it just be all music and guitar? Would it be something else?
So
Back to the relationships thing, just hang out with your family. I don't know. What do you think?
I would honestly, I love road trips. I would get some sort of gas efficient car, truck, whatever, drive all over. I would go, like, maybe take some buddies, and I'd say we're going to Moab this weekend, and then we're going to stop here, and then, we're going to come back, and then I'd say, hey, band buddies, let's go up and play a show in Idaho. Let's go do this. Let's go do this. Let's go drive down to Vegas, whatever. Let's go see an NFL game. Let's go, do something like that.
I can get behind that, bro.
Spending some time with friends and family, like I said, I just like seeing new areas.
I do something
Things like
similar.
that, yeah.
You said gas efficient car. Would you consider an electric car like a Tesla? Or are you very opposed?
Um, my dad and brother both have Teslas.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's necessarily my speed.
I don't know, you seem like a manly man, you know. So
Okay, I
don't know.
appreciate that.
And usually Teslas don't have that exact same
Vibe, yeah.
vibe. So I don't know.
I mean, right now I have a 2006 Ram 1500 something,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm honestly not a car person, if I'm being honest, but like, I am looking to get something more fuel efficient, just makes sense with work and school and stuff right now. It's like I don't really need a truck. It's nice to have, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be opposed to an electric vehicle. Like I said, right now I am looking for something that's probably just more fuel efficient until I guess I am in a job that allows me to buy a nicer car.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I guess like I said, dream vehicle would probably just be, I don't know, like I said, truck's always nice, something gas efficient, or a loaded diaper van from the
Heck yeah, dude, that's sick. No, I'm not a car person at all, and I don't know. It's very divisive. I feel like talking about electric vehicles with car people because it's like, "Wow, it's not a real car."
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, honestly, like, I feel like Cybertrucks are dope. Like, I'd love to drive one. Like,
Right,
everybody
right.
hates them, but it looks cool to me. I don't know.
I agree.
So that's
I
what you.
agree.
What's like the coolest road trip you've been on?
Wow, that's a good one too.
Have you been on a lot?
I've been on a few, yeah. My family a few summers ago drove out to Nashville,
Oh, fun.
and that was fun just because we got to.
Did you show them around, or was that?
Yeah, since that was a lot of just like kind of that was the first time I'd been back since my mission, so that was a lot of, seeing the people I taught, showing them all my areas, showing them the church building, showing them my apartments, and so that was cool because the way out we went through like Wyoming, Nebraska, saw some of the church sites in Illinois. Kind of dropped down in Nashville, spent several days there, and then we went out through like the St. Louis. We stopped at the Arch, Independence, all the church sites there, and then Kansas, Colorado back.
Oh,
So that's definitely the longest I've been on. Driving out to Portland was the longest I've physically been through.
Yeah.
As in I was with like I said, my dad and my brother loved driving, so I was asleep in the back watching TikTok for probably 24 hours.
Nice, yeah, dude.
But Portland was cool. I like that part where you're in between Washington and Oregon, and you kind of come over this ridge and you see all these like windmills out in the distance and it starts turning green. I went down to Coachella a few years ago.
Oh, fun.
For AC, it was like this AC/DC, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Judas Priest, Iron, just like some huge
Big names. Okay.
and so drove down through Vegas, just I-15. But then you kind of just take like this back road, kind of hugging like the Nevada, Arizona, California border.
Okay.
And it's just like, I can't describe it. It was crazy. Like you're along like Route 66 for like a tiny bit.
Where is Coachella? I thought it was California.
Yeah. So it's like Southern California.
I've driven to like LA and I've been to San Diego once, but I flew there.
Yeah,
So I don't really know where.
it's like Southern California. I wish I knew better or could describe it, but
But you like that drive a lot.
yeah, so that was a cool drive because you're really it was just kind of rolling hills of, just sand and, just desert you can't really describe.
Yeah.
So yeah, those have been my favorite. Obviously, I like the Red Rock in Utah and
That area, but the trip to Nashville sounds fun because you did a loop. You did up out of Wyoming, then back in through Colorado. So that's sick, man.
Yeah.
A lot of sight, the Midwest. If you could communicate one thing to everybody out there, what would it be? You don't always get to communicate your biggest, deepest, heartfelt desires to the people you know all the time.
yeah,
If there's just one thing about Tommy people need to know, what is it?
oh gosh. Where to start? That's a good question. I would just say, if anyone like I'm here for you. I guess is what I'm trying to say. If anyone needs a friend, anyone needs this, and I feel like it's kind of hard because life's not easy for any of us, obviously, and we're all kind of on our own separate paths. We're all kind of doing our own thing. We're all trying to figure things out. But at the end of the day, like, everyone's doing okay. Like, unless you're in jail or something, like, I think we're all doing okay, right? So yeah, I don't really know how to word that any other better way, but just spreading happiness, peace, joy, God, and just live your best life. Do what you want to do. Don't let anyone get in your way. There's a lot of just kind of cliche things I can say, but at the end of the day, it's all true. Just, you do you. And like I said, if anyone needs anything, let me know. So
That's fantastic. And what I love about that is you find it interesting is that like almost everybody I ask that question to says like the same thing, which is like, I just want people to know that like I'm willing to help and I'm there. And it's interesting because it's like so many people like I would be like, oh man, I'm in trouble. Let me call Tommy. You know what I mean? Just because like I know you, but I don't know you like that, right?
Right.
So many other my other like friends or people I just like I'm acquainted with that I've interviewed. Everyone says like at the end of the day, like I'm down to help people, which is very interesting for me to like reflect. And whenever I ask that, I'm always like, I bet they're gonna say that, and you do, and it's good. And maybe it's just because I don't know, I'm drawn to people, and like most of the people in my life that I've met are just great like that. Or maybe, you know, at the end of the day,
Bring it out on us, yeah.
yeah, maybe I have that effect on people. But no, maybe at the end of the day, like a lot of people really are like that, and we don't notice it. You know, we think that about ourselves, but we don't realize that a lot of other people also feel the same way, and everyone's kind of down to help.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like everyone has something in them where they want to help others. Like I feel like the average normal person is genuinely good, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like everyone just genuinely does want to see people do well, and I feel like it's hard because it's like we're clouded by social media, where it's like constantly competing and comparing each other, and we're constantly seeing the news where, there's crazy people killing people and doing all this stuff. But it's like at the end of the day, like especially here in Utah, like for sure, and obviously this area for sure, it's like at the end of the day, everyone I think really does just want to see everyone succeed. Like everyone's been there. College isn't the easiest. Balancing friends, family, relationships, school, work, not the easiest. And so, like I said, I think Provo is probably one of the better places, probably on the planet for finding, just a circle, whether that's through work or your ward or school or whatever it is. Like I said, I moved down here in January, didn't know maybe more than 2 or 3 people. And a few months later, it's like I'm with the band, contemplating how I haven't known them my whole life, because it really genuinely felt like that.
that's awesome, man. So I love that, and I agree. You don't want to get me started because like the social media thing is so true, and it's all about how I perceive people, right? We don't often take the charitable view of people, and I don't know, it's just we kind of are harsh, and it's partly natural, it's partly conditioned from where we see things through a screen and not seeing things through face-to-face interactions. And
Right.
but yeah, man, people are great, and I think there's a lot more good than we realize, because that doesn't make good content. I was telling my wife that the other day. My wife, she's like worried about these different like pregnancy stories she's heard and stuff, and I'm like, well, it's not good content for someone to post about their normal pregnancy and normal birth experience, right? It's like these crazy far out stories that are making it to the top of your, I don't know, page and getting all the views and stuff. So same way with people. You might think there's a lot of crazy people, and there are, but proportionally, that's what gets the views, and that's messes with the way we think about people.
Right. And then, yeah, like, I mean, we're all guilty of it. You're not going to throw on Instagram like, oh, I had a terrible day today. You're going to throw, you just did this and this and this. Like, life is great. You want to paint a picture of yourself that, attracts people, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, not saying that's a good or bad thing, but
yeah, it's not a red thing, but at the end of the day, we just got to acknowledge that it's a facade. If we got to be able to realize social media and real life are not the same thing.
Right.
That's the basic. Yep. So I'm with you, bro. I love that. In closing, Tommy, what impact do you want to leave on others before you die?
kind of talked about it a little bit, but yeah, like, I mean, let's like, I just kind of want to reword that. Like, how do I want to be remembered maybe like after I die or something?
Yeah.
I just want to be someone, that has, people can look back on and go like, he was a good dude. Right now I'm just kind of in my collecting dad lore era mixed with, kind of work and school. So it's like, not exactly where I want to end my life, but I want to, be able to say, have kids and grandkids be like, dude, that was a great grandpa. Like, that was a awesome dad. Like, or, that was, that guy was one of like the best friends I've ever had. Like, he was always there for me. Or, that dude was so much fun to be around. Or, that dude didn't take life too seriously to, still have fun and do stuff. And because, like I said, I feel like it's just hard because life's crazy. Like I said, we talked about this, but at the end of the day, it's like you really just want to have the relationships with people that you really value. It's hard, like I said, balancing everything, but just leaving a legacy is the right word, but leaving those relationships with people that, like I said, you can look back on and really connect with. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
no, that's fantastic. I like the way you put that too. It's like right now is the collecting dad lores.
Yeah, it really is.
That's so true. It's like we have some cool stories, we have some cool experiences, but you and I are so young, and so we really are just kind of collecting that lore for later. Like, so it's funny. How do you remember you die? It's like, dude, we haven't really lived yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
still young, but
Exactly, because like a few summers ago, I was in Portland thinking I was going to be a millionaire, and then now it's like I was living in a van, and now I'm like, kind of this like, rock star persona guy. I know, unhealthy addiction to the gym, and we're working between work and school, and then like I said, love going on trips, so kind of collecting all those little kind of dad lores for my
heck yeah,
whatever.
that's a great way to put it. I started thinking about that, bro. Like, this is a dad lore moment.
Yeah,
You start doing
totally. Just do things for the plot.
Yes, do it for the plot. I'm the main character. Exactly.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Yeah.
Fantastic, man. Well, thanks for, letting us get to know you a little bit. Thanks for being a person of Utah and coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it. Yeah, we haven't seen each other probably since Lake Powell or Ecuador.
Yeah, probably Ecuador. Yeah. I think that on social media though, there is advantages. It's like I haven't seen you in forever, but I'm like been able to keep up with you from afar without saying anything. Just let it go.
So it is.
Tommy's killing it.
I had no idea you're at BYU, and I was like, what? This,
yeah, we live like a mile apart.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
really.
See you do it all, bro.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. You're a beast,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, no, appreciate it.
Take it easy.
Good.